At a study at the University of Nevada, participants were beeped at random times during the day and asked to write down what was going on in their mind at that exact moment. We think of our inner voice as a continuous entity, but interestingly, only 26% of waking moments were recorded as an inner voice. Now, granted, it might be a translation thing. Many of us will think of what the inner voice is telling us as our thought than the inner voice itself. But if this is true, that means that our inner voice isn't just a background lo-fi or ASMR. It's actually a pointed cognitive tool at our disposal. There are some fascinating and quite different theories about where our inner voice came from. Vygotsky, the early 20th century psychologist, believed it began in childhood. Kids talk out loud to themselves while playing. Put this here, don't drop that. Later, that self-talk moves inward. He called it the internalization of speech, a way to guide thought without making noise. In other words, our inner voice might just be public language turned private. Centuries before Vygotsky, Plato already suspected this. He described thought as the conversation the soul has with itself. That's 400 BCE, perhaps the first mention of inner voice as an entity that we have in history. Much later, Julian Jaynes suggested something wild, that ancient humans didn't have inner monologue at all. In Homer's Iliad, we see the heroes hearing gods commanding them. Along these lines, Jaynes proposed the bicameral mind theory. That inner voice we now hear used to be experienced as an external one in early humans, the voice of gods, ancestors, kings, and only when societies became more complex did those guiding voices migrate inward and become what we now call thought. It's a very controversial theory, but it's a surreal metaphor for civilization itself, divinity becoming dialogue. Roughly 25% of people say they don't have an inner voice at all. Their thoughts appear as images, emotions, or wordless knowing. Different brains, same consciousness, just skipping the language step. You can never know if anyone else perceives the world exactly as you do. Babies, they don't have an inner voice yet, because inner speech needs language. What they have is rhythm, a proto-thought, emotion without translation. You could say infants feel in melodies long before they think in sentences. Where does that leave us? The golden question, should you listen to your inner voice? That's where philosophy and neuroscience agree on one thing. Well, sometimes. Because the inner voice is both guide and saboteur. For Socrates, it was sacred. He called it his daimonion, a divine voice warning him from wrongdoing. Buddhism has the concept of Maya, illusion, the noise that keeps you from enlightenment. Freud thought of the superego, morality talking in borrowed parental tones. Modern neuroscience just calls it the Broca's area for speech production. I think the trick isn't silence or obedience, but learning to know which inner voice is speaking. Is it fear predicting rejection again? Or intuition whispering that something's off? Is it wisdom or Wi-Fi interference from your own anxiety? I personify it as a different person and have conversations with him. He has more power over me than I'd like. I'm working on it. If someone points at me and tells you he's talking to himself, know that I'm all right. If you have an inner voice, how do you approach yours? If you don't, are you happy without one? Either way, you're all wonderful. Be gentle with yourself.